Ready to escape into a world of enchanting pixels? What is up, my peeps? And today we're going to be reading Beauty and the Beast. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a splendid castle deep in the forest. He had everything his heart desired, but despite his wealth and possessions, he was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. One bitter winter night, an enchantress, disguised as an old beggar woman, appeared at the castle gate and asked for shelter from the cold. Whoops. In return, she offered the prince a single beautiful rose. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince told her to go away. Do not be deceived by appearances, she told him. But he refused to let her in. As punishment for his selfishness, the enchantress transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. Before leaving, the enchantress handed the rose to the prince. The rose will bloom until your 21st year, she said. During that time, you must learn to love another. If you also earn her love by the time the last petal falls, the spell will be broken. If not, you will remain a beast forever. The prince concealed himself in his castle, hiding his ugliness from those outside. Alone and friendless, his only means of seeing the world around him was through a magic mirror. As the years passed, the prince fell into despair. For who could ever learn to love a beast? Oh, come on. There we go. One morning in a village beyond the forest, a beautiful girl named Belle skipped down her cottage steps and strolled into town to the bookseller's shop. Do you have any new... That's kind of a fourth wall break a little bit. Do you have any new books? She inquired. The shopkeeper laughed. Not since you asked me yesterday, he said, taking a book from the shelf. But you may have this one to keep. I believe it's your favorite. Oh, thank you, Belle said. It's a wonderful story about far-off places, magical spells, and a prince in disguise. Yet another fourth wall break. Wow, two fourth wall breaks there, kinda. As Belle walked down the street with her nose buried in her new book, the townspeople gossiped. Belle is very nice, said the butcher. And she certainly is a beauty, whispered the fishmonger? What the heck is that? Everyone agreed that she was very odd, but what can you expect with a crazy father like Maurice, the baker explained. Not banker. Belle heard them talking, but she didn't care. They're right, she thought, but I'm glad I'm different. Hello there, Belle, said a tall, handsome young man with a deep voice. Oh, hello, Gaston, Belle said, trying to ignore him. Gaston snatched the book from her. How can you read this? He asked. There are no pictures. Belle grabbed the book back. You should get your head out of books, he said, patting her shoulder, and pay attention to important things like me. Why does that sound like something Gordon would say? Anyway, think about becoming my wife. After all, I am the strongest, most handsome, vainest man around, interrupted Belle. Oh my god, Gaston sounds like a mix between Gordon and James. Anyway, please go away, Gaston. I have to get home to help my father. He's getting one of his inventions ready to show at the fair. That crazy old loon, Gaston said, laughing. Your father needs all the help he can get. Kablam! Clouds of smoke bellowed from Belle's cottage. Papa, she called, rushing home and peering into her father's workshop. Are you all right? Maurice climbed out from beneath a strange contraption with a shiny hatchet attached on top. I've done it, Belle, he declared. Watch. He flicked the switch, and the hatchet began chopping up and down in a frenzy. Splinters and wood chips flew everywhere as the machine tossed neatly cut logs into a stack nearby. It works, Papa, cried Belle. You're sure to win first prize. She helped her father lug the big wood chopper outside and strap it to their wagon. To their wagon. Maurice hitched the cart to Philpine, I think that's how you pronounce that, their devoted horse, and climbed into the saddle. This invention will bring a new life for us, Belle, he said, leaning down and kissing her goodbye. Good luck, Papa, she called as he rode away. Maurice traveled through the forest for hours before he realized he was lost. Dear, the old man muttered, glancing around nervously. This doesn't look right to me. All of a sudden, I think it's Felipe. Oh, never mind. I said that wrong. Anyway, Felipe stopped short. Again, I think so, you said, not too sure. What is it? Asked Maurice out of the darkness. What is it? Asked Maurice. Out of the darkness crept a pack of snarling wolves. They rushed at the frightened horse and snapped at his flanks. Whinnying, and Felipe reared and charged forward. Whoa, Maurice shouted, but he was thrown and landed sprawling in the mud. Felipe galloped off with the wolves close behind. Scrambling to his feet, Maurice fled through the forest with several wolves at his heels. He came upon an iron gate and, squeezing through, found himself in the courtyard of a great castle. As he stumbled towards the entrance, it began to pour. Shivering, Maurice pulled his soaked cape around him and began pounding on the door. To his surprise, it opened a crack. Maurice poked his head inside. Hello? He called in a shaky voice. I don't mean to intrude, but I've lost my horse and I need a place to stay for the night. As he wandered about the gloomy chamber, a candelabrum, I think that's how you say that, and a wooden mantel clock watched from the shadows. Not a word, Lumiere, the clock whispered. Maybe he'll go away, but the candelabrum, ignoring the clock, cut out to Maurice. Over here! Incredible, Maurice said, squinting across the room. A talking candelabrum. The clock, known as Cogsworth, stepped forward. I'm sorry, he announced to the dumbfounded Maurice, but you'll have to leave. The master doesn't like uninvited guests. Lumiere pushed past Cogsworth. Of course you're welcome to stay, he said. Cogsworth can be a bit stuffy. More like stubborn. Anyway, he led Maurice to an armchair in front of a crackling fire. Please sit down and relax, Mrs. Potts. And Mrs. Potts will be here in a moment with some hot tea. Not the master's chair, Cogsworth spluttered. A footstool scurried over and tucked itself under Maurice's feet. Thank you, Maurice said. He leaned back inside. You were the most kind. Cogsworth tried to head off Mrs. Potts, a teapot in the hall. No tea, he ordered. This has gone far enough. Remember who's in charge of the household. Mrs. Potts bustled right past him with a little teacup at her side. Would you like some tea? She offered Maurice. It'll make you feel warm and cozy, the teacup piped up. Won't it, Mama? Mrs. Potts smiled at him as she poured from her spout. Yes, Chip, she answered. A spot of tea will fix him right up. Just as Maurice raised the cup to his lips, he heard pounding footsteps. It's the master, Cogsworth gasped. Maurice stared in horror. A fearsome beast, more terrifying than any creature he'd ever seen, stood snarling in the doorway. Who's this stranger? The beast roared. Maurice babbled. Was lost, and are you staring at me? The beast demanded. Maurice shook his head frantically, but couldn't take his eyes off the hideous figure before him. The beast yanked him out of the chair, dragged him to the castle tower, and locked him in a dark cell. In the forest, Felipe barely managed to outrun the wolves. He raced back to the cottage yard. Felipe, where's Papa? Belle cried out anxiously. She unhitched the wagon and mounted the exhausted horse. You must take me to him at once. Felipe cautiously retraced his steps through the forest. They came to the castle where they found a hat lying near the gate. It's Papa's, Belle gasped. She dismounted and, leaving Felipe in the yard, entered the castle. Hello, she called softly. Papa, are you here? Not even Lumiere dared to answer this time. Hearing a faint cry, Belle climbed the winding staircase that led up to the tower. Papa? Belle, is that you? Her father called, shaking with fever. He reached out to her. Papa, Belle sobbed, grabbing his cold hands through a barred window. Who did this to you? No time to explain, said Maurice. You must get out of here. The beast came storming down the hall. Belle recoiled at the sight of him. Who are you? The beast growled. I'm Belle, and I've come for my father, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Please let him out. Can't you see that he's ill? He should have never trespassed, the beast replied. Please, I'll do anything, pleaded Belle. There's nothing you can do. He's my prisoner, said the beast, turning away. Belle held his arm. The touch of her hand startled him. Wait! Take me instead! The beast was astounded. You would take his place? You wouldn't run away? No, Belle, don't do it, pleaded her father. Belle only nodded. You have my word. You have my word. Please let me stay, the old man begged. as the beast carried him down the stairs. "I've lived my wife. Spare my daughter." Out in the courtyard, the beast shoved Maurice into a carriage. "Take him home," he commanded. Obediently, the enchanted carriage sped through the gate and was gone. The beast stormed back into the castle and was met by Lumiere. "Your Grace," he said nervously, "since the girl is here to stay, you might want to offer her a comfortable room." The beast growled in response and returned to the tower. There, he found Belle sobbing. "You didn't even let me say goodbye." "Come," said the beast. "I'll show you to your room." "My room?" Belle asked, surprised. "The castle's your home now," he said, leading her to a spacious room. "You may go anywhere you please, but you must never set foot in the West Wing." He paused at the door. "You will join me for dinner tonight. It's not a request. You'll come." Belle threw herself on the bed and sobbed into a pillow. Soon she heard a gentle knock on the door. Mrs. Potts, with Chip behind her, stepped in. "I thought you might like some tea," she said softly. A talking teapot," Belle exclaimed. Chip giggled. "She's pretty, Mama." Mrs. Potts poured tea into Chip. "That was a very brave thing you did," she said. At that, the wardrobe spoke up. "We all think so." Belle stared back in amazement. "Here, let me help you dress for dinner," continued the wardrobe, opening her doors. "I have lots of ravishing gowns from which you may choose." Belle gently closed the doors. "You're very kind," she said, "but I'm not going to dinner." In the royal dining room, the beast paced back and forth. "What's keeping her so long?" he shouted. Hold on, let me reread that. In the royal dining room, the beast paced back and forth. "What's keeping her so long?" he shouted at the servants. "Be patient with her," urged Mrs. Potts, "and try to act polite. She's lost her father and her freedom all in one day. Have you ever thought that if you and this girl fall in love, the spell will be broken?" Lumiere asked. "Of course I have," the beast snapped. "But look at me. She'll never see me as anything but a monster." "But you're Emmianus? I can't pronounce that. "The rose," Lumiere began. Cogsworth appeared at the door. "Your Highness," she said nervously. "Don't get upset, but, she's not coming." "What?" ranted the beast. He charged up the stairs to Belle's room. "Come down to dinner now," he bellowed at her closed door. Then, remembering Miss Potts' suggestion, he lowered his voice. Please, it would give me great pleasure." But Belle refused to leave her room. Later that night, having grown quite hungry, Belle cautiously found her way down to the kitchen. "Splendid to see you," said Cogsworth. "You must be famous." "Why, yes," replied Belle. The servants immediately began rushing about, grabbing pots and pans and setting the table. In no time at all, they presented Belle with a scrumptious dinner. She had never eaten such wonderful food. "That was quite a feast," she said, putting her mouth with an embroidered napkin. I think I say that. "You certainly are generous to your guests." She rose from the table. "And now, I would like to see the castle, if you don't mind." Cogsworth spoke right up. "Lumiere and I will show you around." They escorted her on a tour, pointing out the table stripes and furnishings. After a while, Belle was unable to contain her curiosity. She slipped away and ventured straight into the West Wing. Reaching the end of a dark hall, she opened the door and found a room in shambles. A painting that had been clawed to shreds hung crookedly over the mantel. Looking closely, Belle saw it was a portrait of a young prince. His blue eyes were the color of the summer sky. On the table in the center of a room, a single rose bloomed beneath a crystal dome, enchanted by its brilliant glow. Belle reached out to touch it. "No!" roared the beast, coming up behind her suddenly. "I ordered you to stay away from here. Now get out!" Belle fled down the stairs and out to the door. "I don't care if I gave my word," she said to herself. "I'm not staying here another minute." She found Felipe waiting patiently in the courtyard. She leaped on his back and rode off into the night. It was snowing hard, and Felipe stumbled in the deep drifts. 4 hungry wolves appeared behind a thicket. Belle's heart filled with terror, their fangs bared. The animals sprang at Felipe. The terrified horse slipped, throwing Belle to the ground. Just as a wolf was about to spring at her throat, the beast appeared in the blinding storm. He snatched the wolf away while several others attacked him. They fought fiercely until the wolves slunk off, defeated. Exhausted, the beast collapsed. Belle rushed to his side. You saved my wife, she said shyly. Helping the beast onto Philip, Belle led them back to the castle. All the following days, while Belle cared for the wounded beast, she worried about her father and wondered if he was safe at home. Back in the village, Maurice was growing frantic. He begged the townspeople to help him rescue his daughter, but they all laughed at his fantastic story about a great hairy beast in a castle. Maurice, the old loon, they chuckled. He really is crazy, but Maurice was determined to rescue his daughter, even without their help. Poor child, he thought. She must be miserable. Oddly, Belle came to like living in the castle. The beast gradually changed as well. He didn't lose his temper as often. At times, he was gentle and sweet. It's so strange, thought Belle. I'm beginning to grow fond of him. One morning at breakfast, the beast told Belle that he had a surprise for her. He led her deep into the castle into a room she'd never visited before. A library! Belle exclaimed in delight. I've never seen so many books. They're all yours, the beast said, but he was surprised to see her eyes suddenly fill with tears. Is anything wrong? He asked. Everything would be so nice if I could only see Papa again, just for a moment, she said. I miss him so. The beast smiled. You can see him, he told her. Taking her hand and leading her to the forbidden room in the west wing, he held up the magic mirror. This'll show you anything you wish to see. But Belle gasped when she looked into it and saw her father wandering lost in the forest, calling her name. Suddenly he collapsed on the ground. Oh, Papa, Belle sobbed. He's in trouble. He may be dying. I must go to him. The beast studied the rose on the table. It began to droop and sighed as one more petal fell. Then he turned to Belle and gently stroked her hair. I will set you free, the beast said. He handed her the magic mirror. Take it with you so you'll always have a way to look back and remember me. Blinking back tears of joy, Belle hugged him. I will never forget you, she said. The beast and his servants watched Belle ride away on Felipe. How could you let her go? Cogsworth asked in amazement. Because I love her, the beast said simply, and walked away. He's fallen in love, the Wilmere shouted. The spell will be broken. That's not enough, Mrs. Potts reminded him. She has to love him in return. Oops. Belle found her father lying unconscious. Using all her strength, she managed to lift him onto Felipe. When they reached home, she put him to bed. I never thought I'd see you again, Maurice murmured, opening his eyes. How did you escape? I didn't escape, Papa, Belle said. The beast is different now. In fact, he let me go. Look at what he gave me. As she took the mirror out of her bag, Chip tumbled up into her lap. A stowaway, Belle exclaimed. Did you leave because you don't like us? Chip asked. Belle set the little teacup on the night table. Of course not. There was a knock at the door. Belle found Gaston standing outside. Hello, Belle, said Gaston. I'm here to take your crazy father to the asylum. He thinks he's seen a beast. My father isn't crazy, Belle said angrily. Of course he is, said Gaston, but I can save him from the asylum. If you'll marry me. Belle pushed past him and found a crowd of people in the yard. To the asylum, they shouted. My father's telling the truth, Belle declared. Look, she held out the magic mirror. When the beast image appeared, everyone drew back in horror. He was standing on the balcony, roaring in anguish. He's a monster, cried a woman. Our children won't be safe. I say, let's kill the beast, shouted Gaston. But he's not dangerous, Belle pleaded. He's kind and gentle. Gaston pushed Belle into the cottage and walked her and Maurice in the workshop. Now you can warn your best friend, he said, riding in front of the angry mob and using the magic mirror to guide him. Gaston led his way to the castle. Kill the beast, they chanted. After they'd gone, Chip tumbled down from the night table and peered outside. Ah, he said when he saw the shining hatchet on top of Maurice's wood-chipping machine. He toddled across the yard, climbed up and flipped the switch. It rattled forward, and chop, chop, chop ran right through the workshop wall. Belle and Maurice rushed out to find Felipe. Outside the castle, Gaston dismounted and boldly thrust his way through the door. He rushed to the tower and found the beast gazing sadly out the window. Gaston slipped an arrow into his bow and aimed carefully. He struck the beast in the shoulder and then shoved him out onto the balcony. "What's the matter, beast?" jeered Gaston. "Too kind and gentle to fight back." The beast, despite his pain, was silent. Since Belle had gone, he no longer cared what happened to him. Gaston broke a chunk of stone railing and raised it over his head. "No!" screamed Belle from the courtyard below. She rushed through the door and up the stairs. The sound of Belle's voice aroused the beast from his despair. He grabbed Gaston and pinned him against the wall. Let me go," begged Gaston. "Don't hurt me." The beast glared at him. "Leave," he ordered. But as soon as the beast's back was turned, Gaston pulled out a dagger and stabbed him. The beast swung around in agony and knocked Gaston off balance. Screaming, Gaston plummeted to the courtyard far below. The beast fell back, mortally wounded. Belle took the beast in her arms. He managed to smile. "You came back," he whispered. Then he closed his eyes. Inside the room, the last remaining rose petal trembled, ready to fall. "Oh, please don't leave me," Belle pleaded. She rested her head on his chest and sobbed, "I love you." And suddenly, as if by magic, a glowing light swirled around the beast's body, gradually transforming him from a beast into a man. When the light faded away, a handsome young prince lay in the beast's place. When he opened his eyes, Belle saw that they were blue as a summer sky. "Belle," he said, rising to his feet. "It's me." She gazed into his eyes. "It's you," she said. Behind her, glowing magically, the rose was in full bloom. Belle and the prince embraced and kissed. The delighted servants cheered, and then they too were transformed back into people. Mrs. Potts brushed off her apron and hugged her little boy. "Mama," asked Chip, "are they going to live happily ever after?" "Of course, my dear," she smiled. "Of course." The end. Here's some history about the book and movie. Our next story stop will be Aladdin. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to y'all later.